Hey everybody, I'm Jay Jones,
And I'm LT.
and we are the Dose Offensive Gentlemen. Now let's talk about some shit.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Dose Offensive Gentlemen. This week, we're going to go a little bit, we're going to change gears, although we wanted to continue talking about the personal self-defense and things like that because it's a topic that we both love and spend a lot of time on. We want to talk about a lot of things in the news, and I think this week is going to be related to race relations, or like I don't know, not just relations, just
Am I even allowed to talk about that?
no, you're not.
Do I get I don't get a pass this time?
You don't get a. You're gonna have to just stand there and be quiet and just
Okay.
nod. All right,
Yeah.
because you're a cis white male.
That's right.
Yeah, so
and I'm
no,
so straight.
no, and you're straight.
I offend myself.
But so several things are in the news that we wanted. We decided to talk about because it's something that comes up a lot. And I had a friend. I don't know where he got it from, but he said he was like, you know what? One of the things we need to start doing is sitting down and having a new discussion about race and relationship and everything, and how we relate to each other and how do we see things. Because one of the things he was coming on is that when it comes, especially with black people, we get hyperbolic on some issues so much when we automatically jump to the race bit that we don't really see the full picture. And for him, and I think this is a really smart dude, and he is very, very pro-black, but he's like, it doesn't help our cause because when other people and other races look into that and they're seeing how we're acting, a lot of them just like, no, that's silly. Why are you making an issue of that? Or that is not the, race was not the issue. And then when there's something when race is the issue, we don't, it's not given the diligence that it deserves. And I want to sort of illustrate that in these topics that we're going to talk about today.
You know what that topic would pair really well with? Whiskey.
Is there anything that doesn't pair well with whiskey? The answer is no. I was seeing if you were going to come up with anything.
The answer is no.
All right, very good. Yes, the correct answer is nothing.
Yeah, nothing does not pair well with whiskey.
All right, so today we have, we were trying to figure out how to pronounce this, but so the consensus right now, it is Caol Ila.
It's just Isla. This is
Isla?
not Isla, yeah.
Not Ila, Isla.
Yeah, Caol.
Caol Ila.
It's not like that green shit that the vegans like to eat, though. It's like CAOL space ILA. And it's 12-year.
12-year.
So it's Caol Ila.
And I have not sipped on this. I've been wanting to because I've been waiting for us so we could get through this and have the drink for the first time.
Which I don't know why you had that long-ass intro. I'm trying to drink.
Me trying to drink. Listen. Well, we still got to give
It'll listen.
We still got to give some background.
Absolutely. So a little bit about the Caol Ila 12. This is actually a smaller bottle. It's not the typical 750 milliliter.
Yeah, because this thing.
But
this thing is
what's the milliliter size on that?
It is 20. Where is it? I'm sorry. Yeah. It's only
the 20 milliliter.
20 milliliter.
Oh, so it's like what, like 2 maybe 3 glasses.
Yeah.
But it actually is a very very good whiskey. I had a small tasting of this when I bought it because I had to, twisting my arm. But just a little bit about the whiskey. So according to Master of Malt, the Caol Ila 12 bottling notes. This is a 12-year-old, is the entry-level bottling from Caol Ila Distillery, launched in June of 2002. This expression is light and fresh with that distinctive Caol Ila smoke. So on the nose, it's fresh, herbal, rubbed peppermint leaves, stemmy, damp, grass, smoky, oily, cigar leaves, smoked ham, hickory, lemon peels at the harbor. I don't even know what that means. Lemon peels at the harbor?
I don't know what that
means. I don't know.
Either.
This that's an entire paragraph just by the smell of it. Okay. On the palate, good body, oily, tar, elegant smoke, hints of boiled sweets. And the finish is a long, peppery, spicy warmth smoke.
It is definitely smoky.
It is. Well, I mean, that's very typical of the Islays. But
Yes.
when I tasted this, and you'll see, I didn't. It was not as much of a smoky aftertaste as we've tasted like in the Lagavulins and the Lafroys and all those.
Mm.
It's not quite the campfire. But also a little bit about the history and the history of Caol Ila Distillery. Excuse me. It is in reference to, so the name is in reference to the distillery's location overlooking the strait between Islay and Jura. It was founded in 1846 by Hector Henderson. The distillery did not fare well and changed hands in 1854 when Norman Buchanan, owner of the Isle of Jura distillery, so another distillery, took it over. Since then, it's changed hands a few times, and both the 1880s by the 1880s, over 147,000 gallons of whiskey were produced there each year. So a little bit about it. And now, dun dun dun, we get to taste.
We get to taste.
We get to taste.
So that means it's time for the toast.
It is time for the toast. The very ritualistic toast that we have here at the DOG. Now, this is my turn. And I decided to go with something classic and smooth and just a bona fide badass, right?
Oh.
Do you know what this personifies, or who also had this quote?
Yes, I do, because I read it.
Yeah, you did. Yes.
Yes, I am. This is a quote from Old Blue Eyes.
Old Baby Blue Eye, yeah. Frank Sinatra. Whew, man, I feel super manly just saying the name. So here's the toast. Alcohol may be man's worst enemy, but the Bible says love your enemy. Cheers.
Cheers. I was actually expecting something like a more, I guess, spicier or something like that.
I think the spice comes a little bit after.
It comes after, but that smokiness of it just
it's subtle though, isn't it?
It smells like it's gonna be super strong,
right?
But it's not. It was like it was really. I was actually surprised. It was really smooth for a smoky.
Yeah. See, I know, because we talked about this on previous podcasts. How you're just like, I don't like the Islays. It's too smoky. I don't like the smoky and the peaty.
And the peatiness, but I expected that this was gonna be much more peaty and smoky, but it was actually kind of smooth.
I think everything is kind of on the moderate side of that, and it's just a very smooth whiskey, very smooth finish. Yep, there goes another drink. Tell us about it. Do you smell it? Do you taste all the?
I could taste it. You do get that spiciness on the back end.
Yep.
But it's like a cool smokiness going. Like you know what I'd like to have this whiskey with at a barbecue.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
I could see myself with this at a barbecue.
Yeah, light enough to kind of really enjoy it without it being too serious. Yeah. But then, like it would
pair well with like the smokiness
flavors
from the food and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I could definitely see that. Yeah. I like this one. I just wish it came in a bigger bottle.
Yeah.
You know. Because this is pretty much the entire bottle here.
Yeah, and 2 glasses.
And 2 glasses. We may have little small refills later, but yeah, I like it. And when I was at the whiskey shop getting this, there was one of the other local guys who had tried it earlier, and he was like, "You gotta try this one." So, needless to say, I fought my fear and I tried a new whiskey. But it was I started like the moment I didn't know anything about Caol Ila. I think I may have tried something before, but that was before I really started looking into anything. Mm. And then I took a drink and I was like, "Oh, this is an Islay," and they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh man, I'm starting to tell these guys out. Well, whiskey sommelier." Yeah.
Well, no, because I've seen it several times when we've gone to different whiskey shops and stuff like that. But because it's an Islay, I avoid it, but I was like, okay, this one seemed really good, and it smelled great. So I was like, okay, let's give it a try. and I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, and the fact that it kind of comes in a small bottle, because if you don't like it, it's not that big of a hit, right?
Yeah.
So, it's a small bottle. Like, I could taste it, but I always like tasting the whiskeys before I buy them because whiskey is expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, it is it is an expensive hobby.
Especially for really good stuff.
Oh yeah. Like the average what we have here, I think is between 40 and 60.
Well, even when what we could consider like our I guess
Our everyday
whiskey,
like the Glendevrons and
they're
16,
like they go for like conversion wise about $60, almost $70.
Yeah.
And then when you go higher onto that, you're looking at about $100.
Yeah, easily,
easy. And then we still haven't got that 30-year.
Yeah,
and that one's gonna be like over $200.
Yeah, easily, yeah.
So,
but I mean, so like that's and it's funny because we kill probably about a half a bottle per podcast.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's why we start
depending
off,
on what we're doing after the podcast, but
we start off the podcast nice and enunciating and everything,
and then we just get fucking sloshed. This whiskey's amazing. Yeah, but no, that's kind of how it goes. That's why I like enjoying the whiskey. I don't like just drinking it, taking shots. Like that's what you do with like Jack. Like that's what you do with
the
like
cheap shit.
The cheap shit, or like the Canadian or the bourbons and stuff like that. Like you can shoot bourbon, but don't shoot whiskey. No,
a really
Scotch.
A really good bourbon you have to sip.
So I'm talking like the Jack Daniels, the Jim Beams, and all that shit. Yeah.
We had a maker. I got a Maker's Mark 46.
Yeah, how was that?
And that's a good sipping bourbon.
What was the last bourbon we had? Which one was that?
Was the Maker's Mark.
Was it?
Yeah, just the regular.
Oh, we also had the Knob Creek before too.
Yeah, we had the Knob Creek.
That one was pretty good. Yeah. I want to try one of the higher brand Knob Creeks. I think that'd be really good. Yeah. Maybe for future podcasts. Anyway, you guys can definitely give us recommendations on whiskeys or cocktails or beers, or pretty much if it has alcohol in it. We are anything short of Palinka. We are apt to try new things, and especially if it's satisfies our audience. I mean, because I'm gonna say this again. We still have not gotten hardly any feedback. You know, we haven't gotten any comments on the videos or anything like that. We'd love to hear back from you guys to see kind of what you guys want to listen to, what stories you guys want us to cover.
And it's kind of funny too. Like I know people who listen to the podcast, and then they do try some of the scotches and whiskeys and stuff based off our recommendation. Oh, yeah. But when we ask for feedback, we get
crickets. Even if it's just like feedback on the side, it doesn't have to be public, but just kind of like let us know what you want to hear, or if there's a story that you want our take on.
Yeah.
We'd be happy to do that and kind of give our 2 cents on stuff like that.
And I will say this again, because one of the things we don't want to do with this podcast is I don't want to build, we don't want to build an echo chamber, right? I mean, we pretty much. So I'm gonna say this again. One of the things that we don't want to do with this podcast is to build an echo chamber. So, echo. So I know Jay, and we agree on a lot of things. We do disagree on some things, but that's just because he's wrong, and I'm obviously right.
I'm a white cis male. Can I be right this one time?
No.
No. Yeah, okay.
But we do disagree on some things and our different takes on things, but we would love to have discussions with people who do not share our views all the way, because I think that, one, makes for a good discussion, and two, it helps further learning. If you're constantly hearing what you want to hear, you build huge confirmation bias. So then you will automatically start rejecting anything that goes against that, instead of at least listening to it, evaluating, and see how it meshes with facts and data that you can collect, and form an opinion from that. So again, anybody, we're free. I do bite. I was gonna say I don't bite, but I do actually bite people.
I still have the marks.
Yeah. So, all right. So I will be muzzled, but
by the whiskey. So going into our first little story for this, like we said earlier, this is kind of going to be themed around race. Simpsons has been around for 29, 30 years.
Yeah,
the Simpsons cartoon show.
They started in 1989.
Yeah. And so they recently got into a little bit of a, I don't want to say debacle, but they've kind of come into the controversy of what was the name of the documentary?
So the documentary that I don't want to try to, it's
But
probably gonna fuck it up, but it came out it came out last year, and it's a comedian, Indian American comedian named Kondabolu. I'm not Indian. I'm not gonna pretend like I know how to say a name. If I said it wrong, I'm sorry. First name Harry.
No, he's not.
Yeah, I really ain't. But the documentary was called "The Problem with Apu," and the reason this became so his take on this is that Apu is sending out, I guess, I don't know how to say negative stereotypes.
All it is just a stereotype, and it's like, oh my god, he's the very stereotypical Indian convenience store owner. Oh my god, this is hurting and this is detrimental and blah blah. It's like, or it's a stereotype. Like nothing's wrong with stereotypes. Like there's a reason they exist.
Yeah, all stereotypes exist for a reason.
And not only that, but like the show has been out for 30 years.
Yeah,
30 years.
So
like. And 30 years later, we're coming into this thinking that, like, oh my God, this is what's wrong with America. No,
and well, and also you have to look at one, okay, and just to make sure we understand, like Apu on The Simpsons is one of the most popular characters. Like he's one of the most beloved characters on the show. Now, yes, people have issues now because he's voiced by Hank Azaria, who's a white dude, but his job.
He's Jewish.
Well,
he's Jewish.
Well, see, that's the problem.
All right, that's a different step. Okay, that's even higher.
Jews are only Jewish when they go with certain narratives. Say like when it's something like this, he's just a white guy. He's not Jewish anymore.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
That must have been in the newsletter. Scale.
That must have been in the newsletter.
You didn't get the newsletter. You didn't get the memo.
Right.
So he can't hide behind his Jewness now. Can you, Hank? But. No, but seriously though,
how is he voicing an Indian man?
Yeah, and I mean at the time, but see the thing with Apu is that at the time that when he was on air, when he was debuted in The Simpsons, there was like actually I can't even think of any Indian representation on TV.
No, he was actually the first. That was in one of the videos we looked at earlier. They addressed that he was. If not the first on TV, he was the first as a cartoon.
Yeah, definitely as a cartoon, because I can't think of any.
But still,
no, I take that back. We could go back to Johnny Quest. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, you can.
But if we go back to Johnny Quest, right? If we look at Johnny Quest now,
what about Jungle Book, Mowgli?
Yeah.
Right. Well, that was in India, wasn't it?
Yeah. And the book is very different from the movies and cartoons.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of Disney stuff though. But
there's a lot more killing in the book.
Yeah, but for a lot less political or a lot more political reasons.
Yeah. So, but Apu was like very big. Yes, it was very stereotypical Indian working in a convenience store.
He was a business owner.
He was a business owner. So I mean. It was his store, it was his, business. And the thing is that it became very a cultural icon. And in the fact, like, I don't know many people know this, but there were several 7-Elevens when the Simpsons movie came out. They actually changed their stores into Quickie Marks to
kind of pay homage
to it, to the Simpsons. And to me, I mean, I can't say so. As a minority, I really can't speak for Indians, and I know they probably have their own thing with this, for this, and I've heard some of what they've said, but I don't have a problem so much with Apu, because the thing that I really think that people are not getting with The Simpsons is that The Simpsons is a sitcom about stereotypes.
What?
Yes. Because think about all the stereotypes we have, right? We have the Italian mobster, right? Fat Tony.
You got the fat policeman.
You have the bumbling police chief, right?
Who loves donuts, by the way.
Yeah. You have you also have the Italian chef.
No.
Yeah. And then you also have groundskeeper Willie.
Yeah.
Very, very stereotypical.
Was that the janitor, groundskeeper?
Groundskeeper, same thing.
I was thinking like landscaper, whatever.
Well, you could do the same. Yeah, I mean, he's the way you want to be maintenance man. Will no, that's
that actually sounds much better. Please,
yeah.
Yes.
But he's a very typical, Irish stereotype. You have the bumbling husband stereotype.
Homer. You got the badass little kid,
Bart. You have the the dutiful, long-suffering wife.
Marge, yeah.
Yeah, and then you have the activist, feminist,
the moral compass.
Yes.
Can do no wrong, always wants to be right and do right by others.
Yes.
Lisa.
And which is funny. So Lisa plays a big role into what's happening now when we talk about this discussion is because The Simpsons the documentary came out in 2017. Last Sunday, the last Simpsons episode, they finally addressed this controversy. And to me, I thought the response was really, really good. But to some people, SJWs, they got really, really offended. And I think the reason they got offended is because a lot of people now think that just because I say I don't like something, that means you have to kowtow and automatically change it.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's about countering it, right? Or not countering it, but so imagine that the inequality that they're showing or that they're representing. Imagine that it's like a seesaw. You have all the inequality on one side, but instead of lightening the load and just being like, okay, well, this is how we do things now to even it out, they're compensating by like throwing all kinds of other shit on there. So then it just becomes a bigger deal than it needs to be.
Yeah.
So
well, and they do make a bigger deal, and
but I think this is just just people that need to really get out of the universities, and I think they need something more to worry about. I think that's what it is.
Than The Simpsons, yes.
Yeah,
I'm sorry if you watch The Simpsons and you're not upset with the stereotypical representations of the comic book guy, of the professor,
Sideshow Bob, Krusty the Clown,
all these, the ailing actors,
Millhouse,
the stereotypical bully,
the religious neighbor,
right? Exactly.
Like
and
everyone's a stereotype. Yeah.
It's a show about stereotypes, and if you watch that, I mean, the only one that's not really a stereotype is Carl,
the black guy.
Right?
Oh yeah, because he's kind of goes against a lot of the stereotypes that gets pushed in the media.
Right, because you have Lenny.
Yeah.
Right.
Are they an item? I know it's always kind of been hinted about stuff.
They've never actually.
It's funny though, right?
It's funny because they keep it ambiguous.
Right.
Right.
Like they're just best friends that do everything together.
Everything together, and sometimes they hint at it, and then sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
But even then, it's like everything's about stereotypes. Like they had other black characters on it. You had the stereotypical black soulful jazz man who taught Lisa how to play the saxophone.
Yeah.
You have all these different things. It's about stereotypes.
I just want to know why Bill Clinton didn't teach her how to play the saxophone. Why is that funny? That man is a legend on the pipes, man. But anyway, so that's exactly kind of what we need. Like we need something to not take seriously, and the fact that this right here is gaining more airtime on the news and stuff like that than it rightfully needs to.
Yeah, and the thing about this, going to the Simpsons response. The Simpsons response is, I'm trying to paraphrase it, but I highly urge you to watch. Some people are like, oh, the Simpsons stopped being funny years ago. Yeah, fuck you.
Well, we'll put a link down in the description.
But the Simpsons response was basically, Marge was going to read Lisa a bedtime story, and it's an older book, and Marge realized that there were things in it that would, and then that time was acceptable, but now would be problematic.
I think it was talking about like the slaves had to accommodate the lifestyle of who they own or who was their owner and stuff like that, and she made it sound like it was.
And it was about it was a little white girl in the center of the story, but she changed it so much to try to not offend, take all offensive things out of it, change the story. And Lisa pointed out that by changing the story so much, by trying to not offend and make it more PC, you rob the story of its essence, of its, because it was, you robbed the little girl who was the center of the story about, her journey and, stuff like that. You didn't make her a strong woman. You made her weak.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, that's something that I've heard that same argument for the Tom Sawyer Huckleberry Finns.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like, they are fantastic stories, and with the right context, like, you have to have that part of, like, racial bias. You have to have that
for the setting.
Absolutely. Otherwise, it's mismatched. It's not authentic. It's
right.
It's kind of one of those things, like, you have to know where you've been in order to learn those lessons. If you try to change the past in order to appease,
to make it more
the current
palatable.
Well, make it more palatable. Like, but just to appease the current climate, you're not really understanding the journey of how far you've come. Because every time, like, a white guy talks about slavery, oh, he's racist. I was like, no. It's like, no, but I acknowledge the history that has gone behind, like, that we have gone from that, and so much.
Yeah.
That I'm acknowledging, like, that shitty time.
Right.
Right. I mean, it's
the only way I'd be upset with it if you're trying to say bring back slavery. Now we got a problem.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the same thing.
Yeah, but
but I pay for that labor. No.
You're stupid. So to continue on with the response, so Lisa goes on that, and Marge asks, "What do you want me to do?" And Lisa says, "It's difficult," he said, because something that's been on and around for decades, which was applauded and praised, because Apu was applauded and praised by Indians. Okay, I wanted to put it by Indian Americans, and before everyone was like, "Hey, I had several Indian American friends who loved Apu." Right? They did. Thank you. Come again.
Yeah.
He was appraised. Now this was 30 years ago. Right? People loved him. Matter of fact, one of my Indian friends, they actually own two
Quickie Marts.
They're not Quickie Marts, but they own two convenience stores.
Oh.
So, yeah. He loved it. He thought it was funny.
Well, yeah. I mean, but that's the thing, is, like, do you think it's funny when Hollywood depicts Asians that can't drive?
Yes.
Do you think it's funny when there's inept white men?
Yes.
Do you think it's funny when women just spend all the money?
No,
they just
that's never funny.
It's not, right?
No, but it's
I
all
mean,
about
it's like
context.
all these stereotypes. It's all these stereotypes.
But it's also the context. So one of the things people have to always understand is the context of the joke and the delivery. So you can have there are some really offensive jokes that are very funny because they're delivered perfectly, and then there are some that aren't because they're not delivered perfectly. So it's about that. But to finish, let me get to it because we always get sidetracked. She said things that was beloved, is that was praised and beloved years ago is problematic today. And Marge says, well, those things will be addressed in the future. And Lisa says, or not at all. And while you're saying it, now both of them are looking at the camera, so they're talking to the audience. But at one point it pans over where on Lisa's nightstand, it has a picture of Apu, and it's written on there, "Don't have a cow, man, Apu." So this angered a lot of people. Well, not sane ones, but this angered some people who they took really big offense to that because they're saying, like, the Simpsons are not taking this seriously and da-da-da. And I'm like, yeah,
I wouldn't take that shit seriously either.
It's not. It's a comedy.
I've been doing this for 30 years.
Yeah.
You Snowflake been around. You've been watching the show for like what, 30 seconds?
Yeah, maybe, maybe some
you
of them
saw,
maybe
you
20
saw
years.
you saw a clip and got offended?
Remember, because a lot of these guys are all like, "Oh, the Simpsons are problematic," are the same ones that go, "Oh, the Family Guy is funny," and this Family Guy is actually
even way worse.
more offensive.
Oh yeah, but it tries to be offensive.
Exactly, they actually go for offense, but it's like, oh, the Family Guy is is not is okay, but The Simpsons isn't. And I think the reason being is because everyone goes after the huge target, right? So right now, The Simpsons is the longest running American sitcom. It is the longest running animated sitcom. It's the longest running primetime show. I mean, it is this show. It is a part of American culture.
Yeah.
Actually,
Let's
world
tear it
culture.
down and start the establishment.
So
and
now we want to poke all the holes and find out what's wrong with it. And it's like, well, is there really? So there's times when there's something that is problematic. Like we don't do blackface anymore.
Right.
We realize that was wrong, but
unless you're Robert Downey Jr.
Unless you're Robert. Well, that's what I was about to get to. I was actually going to bring that up.
Wow.
I said, yeah, we don't do blackface. I said, but in the context of a joke for something funny, it could be great. And Robert Downey Jr. did it. Robert Downey Jr. did blackface.
Yeah.
And everyone loved it. Don't give me that bullshit.
Yeah.
Everyone loved that, including black people.
Well, Jamie Foxx actually talked about it on the Joe Rogan podcast. He was just like, I think the question was asked, like, how is it okay for him to do that? And like, man, like, it was a joke. Like, none of us thought that shit personal. Like, he was a dude playing another dude, pretending to play another dude. Yeah.
And it was funny because the delivery of the joke was funny.
Yeah.
Like, that whole movie, you realize how funny it was. Like, here this guy, he, come and they even addressed that the fact that it's a white guy playing this black dude and stuff. That was even addressed.
And then he took it so far as to actually get the surgery or to actually do it like permanently.
Like the fact that he did that and said, and then other movies. So another movie I watched growing up, I mean, it wasn't a comedy, but it was still a good movie that we loved, was Soul Man. I don't know if you remember that. So Soul Man was a movie, and in it was about a guy who tans us in, and he passes himself off as black to get into the school. He's a white kid. He couldn't get into a school, but he passed himself off as black, and he got into the school, and he started dating a black girl, and was, in the family and stuff like that. And then he finally was having a, crisis of conscience and, eventually comes clean that he's a white guy. But it's a really good movie. I mean, it's old. It's an 80s movie. But I always thought it was real well. Like, it was a pretty good movie. But in that case, too, it was like, okay, well, here we did. We brought blackface back. But it wasn't that stereotypical. You know what I'm saying? It was like in the delivery and what's it's done was good.
Well, that's along the same context. I mean, you have the movie Joanna Man, which a lot of people should be absolutely furious about.
Yeah.
If you don't know that movie, that is a black NBA player who can no longer play in the NBA, so he starts playing for the WNBA, and his name is Joanna Man, and he kills it. He's obviously the best scorer in the game and all this stuff, but. Like he pretends to be a woman.
Today, that would be problematic. But then
because he wasn't born a woman. Yeah. Like he was always a man, just acting like a woman. I mean,
but the thing is that when you look at things like that, so like again, when we look at Apu, there's nothing really negative about Apu. He's stereotypical, yes. But he's not like it's not a negative style. He's a business owner. He has a large family. He goes through family issues like everyone else does.
He actually had like a few of his own episodes that revolved around him. So he wasn't even a side character. Like he had his own backstory, his own solid foundation.
And here's the thing: The Simpsons have killed off a lot of characters over the years.
Not Apu.
Apu's still around. Why? Because he's extremely popular, and. He's not a negative stereotype of Indians. He is a stereotype, but it's like everything about him is it's played for comedy, so it's not going to be perfect. But when you step back and look at what he is, I mean, like this is a guy who overcame adversity to follow his dream, and he did it. Now, yes, he has problems. His marital problems come up from time to time, and they learn to deal with it and stuff like that, and the 8 kids and stuff like that. But it's like. That's the things that happen. Those are the things that happen in life. And it's a sitcom. That's what that happens in sitcoms. Okay? Nothing wrong.
Well, that's how you, like, just from a writing and character development perspective, like, that's how you create that emotional bond is you have to show that growth, that kind of struggle, that kind of joining factor of how you can relate to the character, because a lot of people go through marital problems, a lot of people go through financial problems, business problems, things like that. To see something that they can relate to regardless of what race it is on the TV screen. It's you know, you can kind of like,
and you
I
can
know exactly what this guy went through, man. I had to try to save my business. I had to try to save my marriage. I had to try to do all this stuff.
exactly.
And it's I don't know. It's this is the kind of shit that I just don't understand why we're making a big deal of it. Like that's my take on it.
Now, if you want to have the conversation of what Apu represents, that's fine. But to get so overworked that you created an hour-long documentary, yeah, I'm not with you on that
Well,
one.
I just wanted to show my argument of why America is super racist.
Yeah.
Which is not.
So we're gonna move on. We're gonna leave The Simpsons alone.
Yeah. So
we're gonna go to
next-
real life.
Our next one, yes, real life of the things that have actually happened and that things that you should not be offended about.
Well, not so much offended about it.
No, you shouldn't be offended about this shit.
Well,
No, not the first one. Maybe the second
The
one.
second
but
one,
not the first
definitely.
one.
The first one.
one's logic,
Okay.
which you know. So the first one, I'm just gonna kind of briefly touch over. There were from what we discussed earlier, because I haven't really read all the articles about it, but it was two black men in a Starbucks that were waiting for a ride or waiting for somebody, and they didn't want to have anything from Starbucks. They just wanted to use the facilities, use the restroom,
well,
use their Wi-Fi or
let
whatnot.
me break
Oh,
that. So it was two guys. They were supposed to be meeting a friend at Starbucks. They came in, asked to use the restroom and stuff like that, and the baristas was like, well, in order to use the restroom, you got to be a paying customer. You have to buy
Right.
something. You're
Yeah.
not just going to sit here. They didn't buy anything. They were just sitting there, right? And there were people like, oh, they got arrested for doing nothing. Yeah, they weren't doing nothing. They weren't buying. So they're sitting there waiting for their friends. And basically, they were asked to leave because they weren't purchasing
Yeah,
anything.
technically at that point they're trespassing.
That's exactly
Yeah.
what they got arrested for. Now, when they went and leave, they refused to leave. The manager or one of the employees called the police, and the police showed up. And when the police showed up, was basically trying to tell them the same thing. You need to leave. They also didn't leave. They didn't want to leave. I said, well, now you're just trespassing.
Yeah. Well, now not only they were told by the business and the management
Right?
to leave, and they did not, and then they were told by law enforcement to leave. They were given the choice to leave at least twice,
Yes.
and they chose not to do it. So I think at that point, like, they're just trying to make a stink about it.
Yeah, and to this, like, all right, fine, and I know, and I want to talk to black folks, and I'm serious. If you got a problem with this, I've experienced this myself. Okay, I used to go to Starbucks at times, take my laptop just to use their Wi-Fi, and was told, hey, if you're going to be here, you need to buy something. So you know what my way to get around that. So I wouldn't be booted out or arrested. Hey, I went and bought a freaking 75% espresso.
Yeah.
Something cheap. I bought something. I'm a
You-
paying customer.
Yeah, exactly right.
Now I can sit there, sip my or like $1 coffee. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You could go there, sip something, or wait for it, and have something small, and then that way they would leave you alone.
Yeah.
Now I get it. You're waiting. You're going to meet with someone, and this is where I'm going to get on the whole white allies thing that I can't stand. With the white allies is that there was white people when this was happening trying to stand up and go, this doesn't happen. It wouldn't happen to us if we do the same thing. And I'm like, bullshit. I've actually seen it happen. I have seen people kicked out of Starbucks and they were white. I mean, it's not. We always look at this one little. We always look at one. I don't say we, but people look at a single incident and try to extrapolate all these things like this whole trend from it. And it's like, no. Definitely seen many white people asked to leave Starbucks if they weren't buying anything, if they were just sitting there trying to use the Wi-Fi. I've seen people being told if you're going to be in here, white, black, Asian, whatever, saying if you're going to be in here, you need to buy something. So this whole thing that we're all mad at Starbucks for running a business, I can't go with, because all you had to do, 75 cents could have avoided that whole situation.
Yeah.
And you were in the wrong.
Or you could have bought like a bottle of water or something.
But you were in the wrong. You came into their facility. You came into the restaurant to, you use it. You're in there taking up space, and you're not buying anything. Now tell me how many businesses will allow that, especially restaurants. All right, food eateries. How many food eateries do you know that will let you just come in, linger around, and
That's called trespassing and loitering.
without buying anything?
So let me tell you my my outrage with this. So one, it's in Philadelphia, right? It was Philadelphia, and there were two black men that were there, right? So I'll tell you what, nobody kicks out or nobody asks somebody to leave within like the first 15 minutes, right? So we're talking about like a duration of time that these guys had to remove themselves from the premises. I mean, we're talking like 30 minutes because they were in there loitering already. Mm-hmm. Then the manager came out, asked them to leave. They refused. The cops were then called. And then all that time, like how long does it take the cops to come? At least 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's if it's a violent call. You know, if it's a non-violent call, they're not going to, turn on the sirens for loitering. Get out of here.
Yeah.
So, we're talking like upwards 20, 30 minutes maybe. So we're not talking about some guys who were just waiting on a ride. We're talking about people who were actively resisting removal from the premises.
Right.
That's what I hear. Now, another thing is this is what I applaud Chick-fil-A about. Is about the how they respond to the backlash, because I'm reading an article right here from the Washington Post, and it says 2 black men were arrested at Starbucks. The CEO is now calling for unconscious bias training, which it's just like, but why? The entire thing is reacted to try to save face to the public.
Yeah,
it's like no, like uphold what is right.
Your policies.
Uphold your policy. Hey, this is the facts of the matter. Like, we don't really, like, and that's what I applaud Chick-fil-A for. I don't always agree with them on stuff, but, like, that's their stance. They're closed on Sundays. Like, they're closed on Sundays. You know how many times I wanted a chicken sandwich on Sunday?
Oh, yeah. Some chicken, biscuits, and gravy?
Yeah.
Shoot.
But they're closed on Sunday.
Yeah.
That's a shitty policy.
But
that's one day out of the week that they can't have any revenue, right? And even from a business perspective, but no, that's what they want.
That's what they want.
But
and it is their store. So if
absolutely.
That's their policy, that's why I'm kind of ticked off at Starbucks on this, is because you should stand by your policy. There's no fucking unconscious bias with this.
No.
You weren't buying shit, and you're in my store, and we asked you to leave. You didn't leave. I'm not gonna sit there and start marching and throwing the race card because you happen to be black, when I've seen firsthand white people and other people, Asian people, also being asked to leave when they weren't buying shit. Yeah, but the difference between this and that is that when they were asked to leave, they left.
Or it never made front page because
or they buy something.
Because Starbucks asking white man to leave for loitering doesn't make headlines.
Yeah, and I'm telling you right now, I've gone to Starbucks. I have definitely gone to Starbucks. I've sat and pulled out my laptop and started getting on the Wi-Fi and I've been approached and said, "Hey, sir, if you want to come here and use the Wi-Fi, you need to purchase something."
Yeah,
not a problem. I go up and I get an espresso, double espresso. I get a coffee or whatever. And some people go, "Well, they're meeting with his friends, so they shouldn't have to buy anything."
It's not public.
I would have been like,
public.
"Okay,
it's
well,
not a meeting area.
If you want to wait for your friend, you still gotta. I mean, even if a friend came, you still gotta buy something."
Yeah.
So
but you should be waiting in the parking lot.
You should be waiting parking lot. But I'm saying like 75 cents could have avoided all this, and this to me is just something. And then to make a stink about, and then the protest. Oh, we need to boycott. Man, I ain't boycotting Starbucks. I'm telling you right now.
No, their coffee's way too good.
I'm not boycotting Starbucks because I'm gonna follow the policy. If I'm gonna use their facility, I'm gonna go in there. I'm going to follow that. I'm gonna purchase something.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, right? So let's say, and this is just a hypothetical because I'm not sure on what exactly happened in the situation. So let's say they wanted to use the facilities. They needed to use the restroom. Mm-hmm. I have been to places that the only way you could use the restroom was if you had a code. And the only way to get that code was to buy something, because then it would print off on the receipt. And then you go to the door of the restroom, and it had a keypad, and you had to put the pin in. And then the door would unlock, and you'd be able to use the restroom. Like, let's say that. Like, I just need to use the restroom. I'm not leaving until I use the restroom. Well, you got to buy something so I can give you the code. Whose fault is that?
Yeah, it's not the facility, you know?
Yeah, so...
And that's what angers me, because now the conversation is, oh, well, there's unconscious bias, there's racism and all that. And I'm like, nah, dog, this is not...
See, and that's what's going to desensitize us of people playing the race card. it's going to desensitize us because I think it's already starting to happen to me. Like the moment somebody starts throwing around the race and shit, I'm just like, we have nothing else to discuss. Like because if the race card comes out so quick during pretty much any kind of discussion, like we instantly don't really have any kind of common ground.
Well, it depends on like the time. Like there's some situations where you could clearly see this is about race, right? There's some, and when we have those situations, we can address them. Like it's cut and dry. Yo, this issue is about race. This is not one of those issues because you can see that there's because I'm gonna put money on it. I'm gonna put money on it right now. I guarantee you there was other black people in that Starbucks before.
Oh, I bet in Philadelphia,
and probably on that day, and they didn't get arrested.
Yeah.
So what?
And they weren't asked to leave because they were probably actually buying stuff.
Probably actually patrons, customers of it.
Yeah.
Now you're saying, let's be honest, people. If you go into an establishment, you are not a customer just because you walked into the door. You're a potential customer. You're a customer when you order something.
Yep.
Because you are not. You could walk in the door and walk out. Would that make you a customer? No, you're just someone who came into the establishment. Yep. When you order something, you're a customer, right? And that's why, I don't see why this is like we're getting all worked up for this shit. Nah, fuck that shit. Because now it makes us look bad because it makes us look weak. It makes us look like we can't follow the rules. That's what makes me look like, oh, well, you know what? Y'all can't. Black people can't follow the rules. Look what happened. There was a rule out, but now that they got in trouble for it, now we have to blame everything else.
Well, no, not only that. I mean, yeah, we have to blame everything else, but I don't like how Starbucks is handling the situation. Chick-fil-A would own it. They'd be like, yeah, this is what happened. This is our stance on it.
Yeah.
Bye. We don't need your money.
I believe
and Starbucks, from reading down further into the article from the Washington Post, the CEO announced that the manager that made that decision to call the police no longer works there.
Yeah.
So that makes me think of a wrongful termination.
Exactly.
Because if the manager was upholding corporate policy, and then that essentially got backlash, and then now you're getting
you're
fired.
hanging a manager. You're hanging that person out to dry for supporting your company and your policies that you probably beat into them.
Absolutely.
And here's the thing about this that sort of gets on my nerves. So I've been looking at this, and and I might be wrong, but so far from what I read, the police commissioner of this area is black, right? Mm-hmm. There is a black sergeant on scene as well. So I don't see how this is racially motivated when you have two commissioners. They're looking at this thing is like, look, you guys are trespassing. You need to go. If they would have left, and they could have left and came back, and bought something, I don't think this would have been an issue. But they sat up there and tried to, what happened is they tried to play that role. They tried to get in there and be like, no, man, I'm not leaving. No, you can't leave me. Why y'all picking on me? Da-da-da. Yeah, you were in the wrong. They could not admit that they were in the wrong, and therefore escalated the situation to a place it needed to be.
Yeah. Oh, real quick. Perfect example going back to what I was just talking to. So, according to the Washington Post article, Starbucks does not have a company-wide policy on asking members of the public, well, not customers, members of the public, to leave, a company official said. The company leaves safety and customer service protocol decisions up to the store managers, said a company official familiar with the incident who declined to give a name to freely describe internal discussions. They may leave restroom doors unlocked or add key code entries if they feel the store is more at risk for criminal behavior. A store in the same area of Philadelphia experienced an armed robbery recently. I don't see that just kind of drives the point home for me. Yeah. Those two little bits definitely illustrate and validate our discussion. Like that little bit, you mean to tell me that this manager was responsible for that? And he created a policy, or there was a policy for maybe in the region, and he had reason for the policy. You mean I have two, right? So I have two black men just loitering around this Starbucks. I've asked them to leave, they've refused. I've asked them to buy something so that then they would be a customer. They refused. Okay, well, what's my next step now? Do I just leave them alone and let them kind of do whatever they want? No, exactly. Because you don't know you don't know anything about them.
Yeah.
You don't know them personally. You don't know what their intentions are. You don't know if they're just waiting for the place to clear out and so that they can potentially rob you like one of the local ones did. You know, and I'm not saying that's just black. That's people in general. People are shitty in general. Like race has nothing to do with that.
Oh, that's true.
Like
Damn,
people
damn
are
true.
shitty in general. But anyway, going on to a different topic because I think we kind of beat that dead horse a little bit.
But see, here's the thing, right? I would love to see someone,
Kind
present
of defend that.
other side, and I will sit there and ask what really wrong. What about this really is about race, and more about that those people did not. Everyone's like, "Oh, I've been to Starbucks. I didn't buy anything. I'm gonna sit there." Were you with somebody who bought something? Yeah. Was there a Starbucks cup on the table? Yeah. Okay. Shut up.
That's not the case then.
That's not the case. You were with a patron. Now,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean, and when we say this, it doesn't mean like every person. Like, there's been times where I've seen, one person go and then, 4 people sit down and eat. That's fine, but they're happy with someone paying something. If you just came in and just sat down and didn't buy anything, yeah, bitch, I'm sorry. If it was my freaking my store, if I tell you to buy something or leave and you don't leave, I'm throwing you out myself.
Yeah, well, not only that, from a business perspective, let's not even talk about like the policies and stuff like that. From a business perspective, if you are taking up real estate inside of my store and not contributing to my underline or my bottom line, like get out. Like you're literally taking up space. Like I could be making money off that table right now.
Yeah.
Like do you go into a Denny's and just sit down at a table?
No,
Do you
because they
go
will
into-
tell you to leave.
Exactly. Like, are you going to buy something? No.
No.
Okay. Well, then we got customers that need that table. And if you've ever seen a Starbucks empty, it was probably closed.
Yeah, it's probably closing or it just open.
Yeah. I mean, they fill up fast, and it's usually a lot of people in there.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Right, so-
no sympathy for that shit.
Yeah, so we're gonna move into a situation where race definitely, or I won't say definitely,
But I even think it played a part.
I think it strongly played a part in this. And I want to say definitely. No, fuck it. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna put it on. Put my nuts on the table. It definitely played a part in this one. And the thing that makes me mad about this is that I've heard more about the Starbucks thing than this, and this is actually something where we need to talk about. When you talk about unconscious bias, this is something where this would apply, but I hear very little about this and more about Starbucks. Now, so the story of this one, young man, black kid, 14-year-old.
14-year-old African-American boy stopped to ask for directions to school in a Detroit suburb, but was shot at instead. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. So, yeah, and yes, just so you will know, the people who shot at him were white. The boy is black. So what happened was the boy missed his bus to school. And since he missed his bus, he decided he was going to walk to school. As he was walking to school, he realized he didn't really know the way to school. So he decided to knock on someone's door and ask for
Not even
direction.
that. Not even that. It wasn't even in his neighborhood. So what he tried to do first, but according to this NPR.org, from the NPR.org website, the 14-year-old boy tried to walk the bus route, which we all know is not a straight line.
I just said that. He tried to walk to school and he didn't. He realized he didn't know his way.
Yeah, but I mean, he
And,
actually went like into other areas though.
Yeah, but unlike most men, stereotype, he asked for directions.
Yeah.
See how I did that? I actually worked up a stereotype reference in there.
You did. Anyway,
So he knocks on the door and older white lady answers it, and she's she immediately believes that he's trying to break into her house. She alerts her husband. Her husband grabs a shotgun, and the boy sees him grab the shotgun, and he runs. Right? Obviously, what you do. Someone grabs a gun, you run. As he's running, the guy gets out. He points the shotgun at the kid and fires. Now, luckily, he missed. Right? Luckily, he missed. And, the kid got away, and he's safe. He's armed. No damage to the kid. Now, there's a lot of things wrong for this. And I mean, I'm upset on this on several situations. One, all right, if someone is trying to break into your house, they generally don't knock on your door first. Not saying they don't never. There are home invasions where they do, but generally, they don't knock onto your door first, right? And you didn't even have to open the door to talk to someone, and he was trying to ask for directions to the school. Now, I don't know if the lady's house has been burglarized before. It might have. Let's say the night before, the day before, someone knocked on her door and they tried to burglarize her house. All right, let's say that happened. Where I'm really upset with them on this one is that the husband grabs a shotgun and the kid runs. Now, I am very pro-gun. Jay is very pro-gun. We are pro-gunnies. I am all about defending your house, including deadly force if need be. This is not a case of that. If you have someone running away from you,
That's already outside of your house.
off of your property, you have absolutely no right to fire on that person.
Yeah, and yeah,
'Cause
absolutely.
And my thing,
there's just no threat there.
there's no threat, and I'm trying to figure out, like, dude, what is going through your mind?
And I think it was just emotional based because from the article, it said that his wife was crying hysterically and was, why do we keep getting?
But even if that's the
know.
case, you don't shoot someone who's running. Now, if he opened the door, and I'm not saying this is right either, but I'm giving you a scenario. You open the door, the person sees you, you have a gun, and he's standing there on your property, and he doesn't leave, or he tries to make entry into your house, you're going to be more justified in shooting him.
Yeah,
If the person is running away
outside of your house.
outside of your house, there is absolutely no reason to fire. He should have sat there, watched the kid run, and then as the kid was going away, I would have been like, yeah, don't come back or something like that.
Or even call the cops and say, hey, there's a guy who was here.
And I'm not saying that even though his reactions may be very racist, bigoted, racially motivated, but they would have been more correct than the actions he took.
Yeah.
There's nothing. I mean, like, they should throw the book at this guy. Like, if this is the thing that will further this. Now, this guy should not get off easily at all.
Well, I mean, let's talk about that though, because you always hear in the media the things that happen, right? So you have the police officers that shoot black teens, that they don't even face any reprisal. It's like that's not always true. We can name a few different stories, just like Steven Crowder did, where he actually outlined the repercussions that the officer took, whether it was fired or jail time or whatnot. Mm-hmm. But for this case, the retired firefighter, the homeowner, who was 53 at the time, was arraigned on assault with intent to murder and felony firearm charges. So he didn't get off scot-free. Like, this is not one of those cases where, the white man can do whatever he wants to black guys. Like, it's not that story at all.
Well, to be fair, these are his charges. And yes, he is in custody. These are his charges. So when the actual conviction comes down or doesn't, that's when we can say he got away with it or not. I really don't see how he can.
So according to the article, there's also videotape of his house.
Yeah. No, they have the whole thing video.
Yeah.
No, what I'm saying is, like, I don't see him getting off with this, with a slap on the hand or anything, because the number one thing that's probably going to damn him more than anything else. So grabbing the gun, coming out, answering the door with the gun, all that, legit. I'm going to tell you right now, it's legit. Maybe it is possibly racially motivated, but it's still legit, still legal, very legit. Where he fucked up is that he fired on a fleeing person.
Yep.
All right. So even if the kid was there to rob the house, which he wasn't, he still would have been in the wrong, because the majority of self-defense laws in the United States does not give you the right to kill a fleeing suspect.
Yeah, he would have had to been in the home.
He would have had to been in the home, or
at the bare minimum, been in the home at the very bare minimum,
or trying to gain entry into the home forcibly. Like, if he's trying to break in the door and you shoot him, you would have been okay. Yes, he's not in the house, but if you shot through the door and killed him, you would have probably been fine, because that's what's that that was a threat. But he was fleeing, so that he took aim and fired at the kid. Now, if he would have, thankfully he didn't hit the kid, but if he would have hit that kid, yes, he would have been going down for murder.
Yeah.
Bar none. And we saw he's already been charged with this. So they're just showing, now the charges show that there are repercussions. Like
Yeah.
they didn't just go, oh, well, you're a white dude and you shot at a black dude and we're going to let you go. No, he's in custody. They charged him.
And it's serious. I mean, they're
these-
serious charges.
yeah,
It's
these
not,
are-
negligent discharge. No,
Yeah,
it's
this-
with intent to murder.
Yeah, this is potentially spend decades to the rest of your life in prison
Yeah.
charges.
Yeah.
So
But-
this is something, but the thing is, this is what we should be discussing. Like, why was this okay? And we need to get to the bottom of this. This should be on my Facebook wall more than two dudes who didn't know when to leave from Starbucks because
Or a poo.
or a poo. Yeah, this is more serious than a poo because actually someone's life on the line. These are the things. So when we talk about the race relations and how we deal with things, this is kind of the thing I was trying to get at in this episode. I am at no point, I grew up black all my life. Yeah, I know. It's amazing.
Except for that one time.
Except for that one time, I was actually Japanese.
Yeah.
But there was, I've dealt with this and stuff like that. And I'm going to tell you right now, like, I had more healthy race relations in the past than I do now. And we're supposed to be more progressive now. And the reason we're not, I don't see that is because we're really making mountains out of molehills at a time where you are actually getting a lot of the things that you asked for. You're getting more representation and media and everything, positive representation. And I want to take dispel this myth because I had to do this with a friend of mine. This is going to be a short little rant before we close out. When we talk about representation, especially with the black people, I've always grown up having positive representation. Yes, there was some negative representation, but there was a lot of positive representation out there for me to grow up and see as a black person. And as a black kid growing up, I got to see great things like black people achieving overcoming things and coming together. I loved breaking 1 and breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo. It was something where, you had 2 black street dancers. Yes, you had the white ballet dancer. They were facing adversity, but you saw the reason I love the breaking movie so much is that they were extremely diverse, very diverse. You saw everybody in there. Everybody was having a good time, enjoying themselves. 1 and 2. And, even with the rivalries and stuff like that, what did they end up doing? Hey, man, let's come together because we got to save our streets, bro. It was always
it was about unity.
Yeah, it was about unity. It wasn't about gang war. We had that. It was always a great thing. You had on TV. And it's funny because
You had the Cosby Show,
you had the Cosby Show,
and again this is the same apoosh bullshit. It's like, oh, he was doing the Cosby Show. Even for me, it was like obviously I didn't have that kind of racial attachment to it, but you have a very prominent black family on a TV show with positive imagery. I grew up watching that. I didn't see gangbangers on there.
No.
I saw people who were just like us. I saw people who
And
were just a normal every
family.
day. Yeah.
And
they had their struggles and
they had their struggles. They did touch on racial issues, but they did it in a very sophisticated way. And it was great to see how, your mother, no, get me wrong. There were other movie, shows I can't remember, like Good Times. I grew up with Good Times and stuff like that. I like those too. But, a lot of those shows showed us like black people were always struggling. We're always struggling. We're always struggling. Sanford and the Son. It was funny, but we're always struggling. We're always struggling. Cosby Show came around. It was like, hey, a doctor and a lawyer living together in a nice house, with you raising kids. They're buying artwork. They're listening to good music. They're exploring new things. I always loved Heathcliff Huxtable. One of the reasons I eat everything I do is because he was such a, he was always out there trying new things. He was always expanding his horizons, and I was like, well, shit, I'll eat a pig foot too. I'll eat some sliced turtle feet. I'll try these things. And then, and that led to Different World, when Denise goes off to college and, she left soon after. But it was like, that you had the black college life. I went to an HBCU. So that was that was a big motivator for me too. Like, it was like, okay, it's going to be like Different World. Things like that, and then you had Family Matters. You had other things like that. But you always, that started, very, very positive representation. Even when you got movies, and we want to go with movies. Look at the, we go look at Boys in the Hood, and people are like, oh, well, you had gangbang. I say, yeah, but it had many positive messages in Boys in the Hood.
Well, I mean, look at Lawrence Fishburne's character.
Yeah,
You mean a positive role model,
male
role model, which is kind of hard to find in a lot of these single parent households. But I mean, you just had that where like he genuinely cared about himself, his kids, the people around him, the neighborhood. You know, he cared a lot about that, and you know, you really saw that in his son, Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character.
Yeah.
You know, because he had standards for him. He said, "No, you're not going to act like that. I taught you better than that, right?"
Exactly. And then even though but anyway, I just want to go like there's always been a lot of positive representation for us if we look for it, and it's always out there. But anyway, today we get clouded.
We do. Yeah. But so real quick, going back to the article, so one of the things, so I'm just going to quote something from the mother of the young man here. Says one of the things that stands out that probably angers me the most is while I was watching the tape, you could hear the wife say, "Why did these people choose my house? Who are these people?" And that's what set me off. So real quick before we end it, that's what upset me. It's just like, really? Like, this guy shot at your son. Missed, thank God. And that's what you're upset about is like what the wife said?
Yeah, I would probably be more upset about.
No, like that's the side note. Like that's nothing.
A side note. I'd be more upset.
But then also on the mother of that, she like when I was a young kid, like, younger than 14 years old, I was riding my bike to school. Like, I knew how to get to school. Like, so this kid did not know how to get to school?
Yeah, but most kids nowadays, because that's a totally different podcast, but that comes with parenting. And not saying that this woman is a terrible mother. People are going to go, "You're attacking the mother." I'm more attacking the fact that kids nowadays do not go outside and learn their way around, like they used to. That's why I remember a couple of years ago where people were all outraged because the woman let her son take the subway by himself and come home, and everyone's like, "Oh my God!" And I was like, "That used to be normal."
That's just the helicopter parenting bullshit.
But anyway,
we're gonna wrap it up right now. Hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Again, we kind of covered some controversial stuff. So if you have anything to say, you want to put us on the spot, you want to try to correct us,
please. If you have corrections,
give us some
we're
feedback.
Stepping out of line. I do welcome hearing the feedback, but you ain't doing it. So that must mean I'm always right.
Always right.
See, hear that echo? That's not what we want.
Bye.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Dose of Offensive Gentlemen podcast. We want to hear what you got to say, so leave us a comment below and hit that like button. Also, subscribe so you can get your future DOG updates.